Hello and welcome to part 3 of New Pond Syndrome. So we'll start this video by talking about the parameters of this koi pond, what they're currently at. So my ammonia is currently 0.6 milligrams per litre, which is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll get into more about that later. My pH is 7.2, which is, we'll talk about that again later. My carbon hardness is 5, which I'm pretty pleased with. That's stayed up there nicely. My nitrite level, which is the one I want to talk about in this video, is 1.15 milligrams per litre or higher. As you can see, the hanometer is currently flashing. That means that the actual level is over that. Its maximum level it can read is 1.15. It would be kind of nice to know what it was actually higher than that, but it's not important. The important information is that the nitrite is really high and at an unacceptable level. So, how do I actually make the effects of nitrite less intrusive on the fish? So, one way in which nitrite is similar to ammonia is that its toxicity is affected by the pH of the pond, but unfortunately it's the exact opposite. So I've lowered the pH in this pond to make ammonia less toxic, but that is making the nitrite more toxic. So now my ammonia is at a safe level and nothing to be worried about. I now need to raise the pH to make the nitrite less toxic to the fish, and that's just a little bit of pain. So how does nitrite actually affect the fish? Well, with ammonia you get burns on the fish, and that's what I kind of like about ammonia. If you are having ammonia problems like that, you know you're having ammonia problems like that. You can spot ammonia burns from a mile away, and it's easy because it has a visible effect on your fish, and that's just what I like. Anything that has a visible effect on your fish can be managed because you can see what it's doing, I find. Although if you've got to the point where it's burning your fish, you're having major problems. But nevertheless, nitrite also burns the fish, but that's not sort of the most immediate effect that it has on your fish, and not the biggest problem. These fish are really hungry. I'll just put some in for what I'm doing in a bit. But the biggest problem with nitrite is the fact that it actually takes the position of oxygen in the fish's bloodstream and doesn't remove itself from the bloodstream. So what happens is it reduces the fish's ability to process oxygen and breathe, basically. It reduces their efficiency of respiration. So what you'll get with high levels of nitrite is fish that are stuck on bottom as if there were no oxygen in the water, and that is very likely to kill them before any other effects of nitrite will, and that's something I want to avoid now by increasing the pH this time. So as you've seen in my previous video, I've actually got the air pump off, and it's currently off at the minute because it doesn't come on until 10 o'clock at night. Because it's on all night. Now I'm going to switch that to be just on all day. It's going to be turned off of the timer. The air pump is going to be on all the time, and that will reduce the carbon dioxide in the water, and that will increase the pH naturally, especially because the carbon hardness is 5. So we'll see in the next couple of days that my pH probably comes up to 8 or something like that, which at that point I'll be hoping that the ammonia drops slightly, but still it won't be a problem. But you know, these fish are happy at the moment. I'm just sort of making sure I'm on top of things, and one thing I can do at this point is add carbon hardness. So this is bicarbonate soda, and what I'm going to do is add this, which the fish will attack it, but it's not a problem. They'll just get a mouthful and it'll not hurt them. But I'm going to add a bit of that. I'm just going to add that one for today and just see how we get on, and because I'm going to keep the air on, that should help as well. And I'm also going to add a bit of salt. Now, salt doesn't actually reduce the toxicity of nitrite, but it does help because salt finds it easier to get into the fish's bloodstream, and the more increase in salt levels, the more chance that salt will get in rather than nitrite. So a good bit of salt in the water just won't hurt at this point, although it's not really a fix to the problem, it's more of a help, I guess you could say. So I'm going to put a little bit of salt in just to sort of ease the effects of the nitrite. And at this point, when you're having varying levels of toxicity in your water, it's good to just add a bit of salt. I find it doesn't hurt. So there we go. So it's now 2 days later. So as you can see, I've got the air stone on. I've got that on all the time now. I put it on since I finished the last video. I just left it on all the time. And the fish are quite happy. They're doing really well. They're very active. They seem slightly more active than what they were before, which is great. And I'll talk about water parameters in a second. But first of all, I want to sort of mention the salt. So previously I put in 2 cups full of salt and mentioned that salt can help against the effects of nitrite, which it can, but realistically, to make any difference, you need huge quantities of salt. And in most cases, for salt to actually do anything, you need huge quantities of salt. But I'm really against putting huge quantities of salt in your pond. I don't think it helps the fish. I don't think it's a good thing at all. It's so difficult to get out of your water once it's in there. It takes a lot of diluting out, and not really. But I do like to put in small amounts of salt. I like to keep a trace amount of salt. I do feel like it helps your fish. If the fish get like ammonia burns or something like that, I feel like having a trace amount of salt in the pond helps them sort of not be affected by other things quite as harshly. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. It's just one of the things I've sort of experienced, and it's become a bit of a habit for me to just have a trace amount of salt in the pond all the time. And when I say trace amount of salt, I mean I put like a cupful in a 9,000 gallon pond once a week. You know what I mean? It's nothing. It really isn't. And whereas this one, I might put a cupful in here once a fortnight, something like that. It's very, very small amounts of salt. I just don't like there to be no salt, which obviously ain't going to happen because tap water does have salt in it, but I do like to just sort of add a bit myself. Like I said, it's probably become a habit. Anyway, so let's talk about the water parameters of this pond. So I'm actually quite pleased with the pH. The pH is obviously the thing we were mentioning about to help with the nitrite. The pH is now 7.8, which is great. That's just what we need at this point. And obviously with that higher pH, I can't have quite as much ammonia, but I got quite a surprise when I tested for ammonia. Because this is my ammonia reading currently. It's 0.3 milligrams per litre. Now, I actually tested this twice because I've never seen ammonia drop that quickly over such a short period of time. In fact, I actually, about a month ago now, when I was having high levels of ammonia in the pond, I actually had, if you remember on my previous videos, I had a net over here to stop the fish going down the bottom drain. I've currently adjusted that so they can't get down anymore, but that net blocked up and it stopped my filtration system from getting water, and the drum filter sort of drained the pond basically, and the water level dropped from here where it currently is to just above the window like here. So that's quite a lot of water that it dropped out, and when I topped the pond back up with fresh water, it took a few hours to top it up. And I thought, well, I'll test the water, that'd be quite interesting. And I tested the water, the ammonia was exactly the same, and the nitrite was exactly the same. Despite putting all that water in, made no difference at all, I couldn't believe it. But it makes it even more shocking that the filters managed to drop it's basically halved the ammonia level in 2 days. But that's great, I'm really pleased with that. What's caused that? Maybe it has something to do with the higher pH level, I don't know. Maybe it just makes the bacteria a little bit more active with the higher pH level, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's great news. I'm really happy that the ammonia level is so low. Now, The only issue with that, the ammonia level dropping, is the ammonia gets turned into nitrite. So the nitrite level stayed quite high. Obviously it's over range of the nanometer, still at 1.15 milligrams per litre. It's probably well over that. Which is a bit frustrating that I don't have the higher range of testers for that, but I'm never going to buy them and I'm not too much interested. I just know that it's a bad level. But I also tested nitrate, which is 30 milligrams per litre, as you can see right now, and that is also a high level of nitrate, but nitrate's not really much of a problem. It can affect the skin quality and colours of fish, but I'm not too much bothered about that at this point. It's obviously not as bad as nitrite or ammonia, but having a high level of nitrate tells me that the nitrite is being converted into nitrate quite successfully. So once the filter gets through the backlog, you might say, of the high level of nitrite, then we'll actually start to see the nitrite level drop. We may see the nitrate increase more, but when it'll then move on to that and be quite happy. So I think shortly, in the next week or so, we're going to see the nitrite drop to quite an acceptable level, as it seems to be running fine. So there we go, that's an update on the pond. It seems to be running fine, and I just showed you how I've changed my habits, I guess you could say, to meet a different requirement with the nitrite. And I'm still feeding the fish really well. I haven't slowed down feeding them at all, really. They've been still getting fed 3 times a day, and they're quite happy about it. So there we go, that was my update on nitrite with the new pond syndrome. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please comment them below. I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I possibly can. If you like this video, then please like it. If you're new to this channel, then please subscribe. Thank you for watching this video, and I shall see you in the next one.